Hello, everyone. We are very excited to be speaking with James Topp today. James is a Canadian Armed Forces veteran of 28 years who was recently released from the Canadian Armed Forces. He since began marching across Canada in February of 2022, starting at the Terry Fox Memorial in Vancouver, and is heading all the way to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Ottawa, a distance of 4,293 kilometers. Thank you so much for speaking with us today, James.
Hi, it's good to be here. I just want to correct that intro. I'm actually in the process of being released. It hasn't actually been finalized yet.
Okay, so maybe to get started, would you be able to tell our listeners the reasons why you started marching across Canada?
Yeah, absolutely. So in and around 2020, as you know, we had the events that led up to various government mandates being imposed on us. There was one in particular I had an issue with that was imposed on federal government workers. So just a bit of my background. I have been in Armed Forces, been in the Canadian Armed Forces as an infantry soldier for all of my adult life. In 2019, I transferred from the regular force to the reserves. Basically means I went from full-time to part-time, and that enabled me to pursue a career in the public service, where I worked as a civilian for the RCMP in Chilliwack, British Columbia. So I was a facility manager at a training location in Chilliwack. Then, as you know, in 2021, the federal government imposed mandates on federal government workers in the form of a medical procedure that I have to, I dance around it just because I want to avoid various labels. I'm sure you can understand.
Yeah.
So the main issue wasn't so much with the vaccine itself. It was the heavy-handedness of our government trying to impose their will on us. I don't believe our government has the right to tell us how to be healthy or what to do to be healthy. So in November 21, I was placed on leave without pay from my public service job with RCMP. Not long after that, I was informed by the armed forces that I would be released on what's called item 5F. So in the regs, it basically means an inability or an unwillingness to change behavior. And the behavior I was unwilling to change was my failure to comply with the Chief of Defense Staff directive on vaccination. And that's pretty much what got the ball rolling. I do get a pension, and it pays my mortgage, but I still need to supplement my income. So in and around, I tapped around, wallowed in a pit of despair for a couple of months, wound up getting a job as a tow truck driver in Hope, BC, where I live. And that really kind of opened my eyes in a number of different ways as to, as somebody who has come from the armed forces, spent my adult life there. In a way, you're in a cocoon from what the Canadian public does, how they live their lives. And that's where I kind of got exposure to that and seeing how hard everybody works and realizing, I had only surface level realization before, but now I came to the conclusion, fully realizing that's the Canadian public who pays the fail and who is paying my paycheck for all those years. Are you still hearing us?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Yeah, good. So basically, there was that, being in the state of depression, and then seeing a group of Canadians in the form of the truckers go to Ottawa to protest all of the same things I had issues with. And that really inspired me and brought my spirits up, made me proud to see Canadians standing together for something in common cause. And and it inspired me. I wanted to be a part of it somehow, some way. But at the same time, I was outraged as I watched things unfold as they were ignored and then insulted. So a couple of different things happened there. I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but I went out and made a very public statement in full uniform. And that attracted a lot of attention. And that statement was that I was going, talking about all the things I just talked about. And then I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to join that particular effort, but in this way, in something that I knew I could do, because I've been marching around with a rucksack on my back for quite a few years. So that's how it kind of unwound. And then we started in, once that video went out, it got a bunch of attention. These guys found out about it. Jeremy and Dan and Christian hold the camera. They met me in Vancouver on the 20th, and we've been doing this ever since.
So maybe I'll ask, how has the Canadian Armed Forces responded to your stance and your public video?
Well, I'm in trouble for that. Quite a lot of trouble, actually. So I was one of the soldiers under investigation, and there's going to be a court-martial more than likely in the future. I can't say when exactly because I don't know. And my release for not complying with the Chief of Defense Staff directive is ongoing.
Is there other soldiers like you out there doing this, voicing their opinion in a similar way?
I think there was, but I think for the clampdown on that kind of behavior was probably pretty swift and severe. I'm in a unique situation because typically in the reserves, you're not quote unquote on duty until you're getting paid. So when I went out, put my uniform on, made that statement, I wasn't getting paid, therefore I wasn't on duty. And technically, because I'm a reserve soldier, I'm only a part-timer, right?
Right.
So I think that what happened was there was other soldiers out there making their opinions heard, and they were swiftly, brought to heel through various mechanisms. And not to say that they're not going to make their voices heard in the future, or who knows what's going to happen. I'm kind of hoping that's what happens as well. I did do a 1,000-kilometer video in which I very basically said, just because we're soldiers and we wear the uniform and take the Queen's coin doesn't mean that we have to forego all our rights. We still have the right to ask questions, and we still have the right to voice our opinions.
So how has the response been? Has it been positive, negative from other soldiers, the Canadian Armed Forces, the general public? How has that response been?
Well, what I'm seeing on the ground is very positive. There are occasional, comments shouted from an open window of a moving vehicle, or, a one-finger salute here and there, which I continue to be baffled at because I can't understand why this would bother you that much. But to be honest, even when I had conceived this, it had been a one-man show, and then the video attracted this attention, and then I met with all the dudes and one woman on the ground with me. There probably was about 60 to 70 people at the Terry Fox Memorial in Vancouver on a Sunday morning at 7 o'clock, which is impressive in and of itself. And it's just been a slow roll going since we rolled out. This isn't exactly attracting the major media attention. So people are finding out about it through, social media and stuff like that. And I think it's getting more and more attention. but it's been, direct direct donations that we're getting to keep this thing going. Initially, I had been kind of thinking I'll just self-finance, but it turned into a much larger endeavor than I could have possibly imagined. And the support with folks offering up their homes so that we can sleep indoors at night, because we're coming up on 1,000 miles, or if not more now. So 1,600 kilometers, halfway across Saskatchewan. We're close to it anyway. We wouldn't have got this far this fast without the public support, and that's been overwhelmingly positive.
So has there been any mainstream media contact you at all, like CBC, Global, CTV?
Yeah, initially when the first video went out, a woman from the CBC did contact me, and she wanted to do a piece. And as I understood it, it was, I kind of had a off the record discussion with her, as much as anything like that could be said to be off the record. I declined that interview just because at that point I wasn't able to articulate exactly, why I was doing this or why I was going to do it. And given the media landscape as it is, I didn't really feel wholly comfortable with the CBC covering the story at that particular point in time. But since then, there's been no one reaching out.
So how are you guys traveling? Just by car? Do you have a trailer, or?
No, we got an RV that we purchased early on, and it was part of the kind of a private payment installment plan that we had with the owner. And the guys who have joined us, like Logan Murphy is our action photographer. He's got his own vehicle, and then Dave is another fellow who joined us in Medicine Hat. He's got his own vehicle. Esther Caswell is a woman from Saskatchewan, actually, but she had been living in the States, drove up there to take part in this. She got her own vehicle. So during the day, I'm marching, and then we have the vehicles. You can probably see that one behind us. And then that's the safety vehicle for us to the rear. And then we have the one in the front. Because we are marching along the side of the Trans-Canada Highway. As like a day we had yesterday, it's important that we get visibility so that we're not putting ourselves in danger or any traffic when driving in danger.
How many hours are you typically marching in a day, and how many kilometers are you getting in?
Well, early on we had some difficulties with various physical ailments. And with the terrain and stuff, going through the mountains, like coming out of Vancouver, going through the Fraser Valley, it was kind of a conditioning exercise, and then we hit Hope, and we started hitting terrain, and it kind of slowed us down. But to answer your question, on average, about 10 hours a day, and now we're realizing we're a little bit behind, so we're going to try to pick up. We had been getting about 40 kilometers a day, but now we're going to try to increase that to between 45 and 50, so that we can get to Ottawa by. Yeah, so we get to Ottawa by June 30th.
June 30th. Okay. That's very impressive. Me having trouble motivating myself to do a 5 kilometer per day, so that's amazing. My question would be, what would you like to see change in Canada, and how do you think we can accomplish this change? It's probably a big question.
I want to see, this has been after 56 days of, basically having 10 hours a day to think about this. At the beginning, the plan that I had was, very much done on instinct. And it evolved over time to answer that question for myself. Like I didn't even know what I was going to do or how I was going to do it. I mean, I had a kind of an idea, but what we came up with was that right now, the mandates need to be changed to something that is not imposed, but something that is voluntary, because we have a divided society that now, you know, this has become, you know, such a divisive topic. Just to have the mandates just lifted clear would probably cause even more havoc. So essentially what I've done is we've crafted a letter, we've written to members of parliament, all of them, 338 of them, 90 sitting senators, basically saying that this is who I am, this is what we're doing. We're going to be in Ottawa in and around the end of June. We want to have a conversation about this. The conversation that wasn't had in January. And as we go along and we meet folks on the way, and I asked them to also write their members of parliament, encourage their members of parliament to come and meet with us in Ottawa at a public venue, or there'll be a public discussion about this entire thing. And the lifting of the mandates needs to happen so that we can get back to repairing the damage that's been done by these kind of divisive policies. Because my concern now is that we've been divided to such an extent that I'm not even sure, you know, how to bridge it, except to try to reach across it with an open hand. So that's the plan right now. We got responses from some members of parliament already, and I'm finding that going into this kind of political game, not really knowing what to expect from a politician, I have been able to kind of speak with retired members of parliament who are telling me, you know, there's this kind of back and forth table tennis type of thing that goes on. You know, eventually I think what's going to happen is they're going to realize that what I'm doing, what we're doing right now, I have attracted a number of folks from the veteran community, because this is also about veterans. There was a traumatic event that happened to our veteran community back in January, February there, around the war memorial. And we need to address that, because that was, you know, this is in recognition. This is, you know, my demonstration of pride in the veterans who did stand up with the truckers back earlier this year. And I think we're going to be going back there, because that's one of the reasons why I'm going to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. That's my legacy. And we're going to take that back. And I think what's going to happen is that you're going to have a lot of members of parliament seeing this this particular thing that we're doing is going to be hard to ignore. And if it is, it's going to look pretty, the optics are going to look pretty bad. So I think this is a way of encouraging those members of parliament to eventually have a contact with us so that we can have that conversation. Because it's not just going to be me going to Ottawa or arriving in Ottawa. There's going to be a number of veterans, because that's what we're talking about.
This will start a bit of a movement and get people to head that way.
Yeah.
So I know there are countless Canadians who do want to support you and what you're doing. They really appreciate this endeavor. Is there a place they can go to donate? And do you have any social media accounts they can follow, kind of follow along on your journey? I know you have sort of a live GPS website where they could follow exactly, you know, your location, follow your journey.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly.
So where can they go to donate?
Sorry?
Sorry, I think there's a bit of a lag here. Where can they go to donate, and what social media accounts do you have that they can follow?
Yeah, we have our website, canadamarches.ca. And we do have the GPS live link there. I have a spot tracker on my backpack, and it's continuously updating. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay, but it tells you exactly in real time where we are. And then you can also, there's links there to all the social media platforms, Canada Marches on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And as far as donations go, I haven't, right now it's like just direct donations and fundraising activities that various groups are hosting for us. We got a merch shop we just opened that up not that long ago. So you can go there, buy a t-shirt, a sweatshirt or whatever. So there's that way. I haven't gotten the GoFundMe or Give, Send, Go yet, just because I saw what happened early on with the Emergency Measures Act being put in place, and I really wasn't comfortable with that. But it's something I'm not ruling out. I just have to, I want this to be open, transparent. Anybody who gives us money, this is, they need to be able to know that this is what it's going towards. This isn't about me making money or selling t-shirts. This is about funding our trip so that we can have that discussion. Because what should come out of this at the end of the day, what needs to come out of this at the end of the day is our members of parliament, those folks in the federal government, they need to reestablish certain facts in their minds and get it back in their heads of who they actually work for. Can they work for you guys? Or they work for us?
Absolutely.
Well, I'll add all those links into the YouTube video. So anyone watching this, just check the links below.
I was just going to ask James, have any members of parliament gotten back to you? I know the truckers wanted to meet, but that never ended up happening. So has anyone gotten back to you on that?
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with it, with this kind of back and forth. I sent out a letter to the members of parliament, and if you want it, watch out for that thing. The members of parliament have received letters in both email form and one that's been sent out by mail. So we have gotten some responses, and they've all been, from their staffs saying, yeah, thank you for contacting us. And that's where I was kind of getting back to go back to that table tennis analogy. It's like, I'm not going to hear from the member of parliament themselves right away. There's a back and forth that has to happen. So they said, they have their secretary write us, and then we write back to their secretary, and then hopefully this happens a couple of times and we actually establish contact with an actual member of parliament. But we have heard back from their offices, at least, anyway.
That's a good first start. Lee, I'll turn it over to you.
For sure. So just to close, we like to ask our guests if they have a message for Canadians. What would that be? Whether it's a piece of advice or just an inspirational message.
Yeah, we need to get out of this kind of, how do I put it, chasing our own tails with regards to our dissatisfaction, okay, with the current government, and educating ourselves on how our government actually works, so that if you feel that strongly that you dislike sorry, if you're a member of the Canadian public and you are disliking what our government is doing, then you need to figure out how to fix it and how to change it. Because you can, because one of the things that I found on this journey is I run into a lot of folks who have kind of, they're resigned. They don't think there's anything they can do. And they're wrong. There is something you can do. We establish something. We get together, we make our voices heard, in a constructive, peaceful way. And you can do something. You don't just have to sit there and say, well, I can't make any changes. That's the government. Well, that's wrong, because that government is there for you. So you can figure it out. You can do something, and it starts by thinking for yourself and focusing on what you can do and not what can't be done.
Absolutely. Yeah, everyone has the power even just to speak up and say something, and your voice actually can do a lot. It can go a long way. And you see how many people went to the Freedom Convoy and supported that. It's like if all these people just do something and have sort of action items, we can really change this thing. But we really appreciate your taking the time to speak with us. Really enjoyed this interview. And when you do get to Manitoba, watch out for the potholes, because there's going to be a lot of those.
Oh yeah. Okay, I will. We got a bit of time yet, but.
Well, thank you so much, James.
We'll have to meet you when you're in Winnipeg.
Yeah, we'll come support you when you're here. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you.